But again, I think that this is an awakening period for America. We've borrowed too much, we've spent too much, we've saved too little, and we haven't had the kind of work ethic and the kind of emphasis on education that we need to have. And so we just need to get better at those basics.
Now, for the family right now that is struggling, perhaps they've got too much debt, maybe they've not had the financial literacy training that would have been helpful. Maybe they've relied too much on credit. Maybe what they've been told when they were young is go out and establish credit instead of going out and establishing a savings account. What would you suggest to those individuals right now?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, debt is a big part of the problem. Most people who are really having financial problems, they're in over their heads in terms of their mortgage loan and credit card loans and other types of debt. Talk to your lender. Whoever that lender is, the lenders don't want those loans to go completely unpaid. The lenders don't want you to file for bankruptcy and damage your credit for 7 years. The lenders don't want your home to go into foreclosure and then end up having to take possession of that home and sell it for 50 cents on the dollar. Communicate with your lender. That's the first thing. And the second thing goes back to the point of finding a way to cut back on your spending. Everybody, so many families that are having tough times, they have flat screen TVs, they have cable access, they have high-speed internet access. And I think people need to be very introspective about how they're spending, and they should cut to the point where they're able to dig themselves out of the hole. Things can get better, but it takes a lot of discipline.
You know, you raise an excellent point, and I think we've all seen it. You're right. Sometimes those who are struggling, it almost seems that some of the things that perhaps they see as needs are not really needs. Maybe they're desires. Maybe it's nails or getting one's hair done every week, and maybe you can stretch it out to 2 or 3 weeks, or haircut. One of the gentlemen sitting here, we have a lot of wonderful barbers, but sometimes cutting back and stretching that out, or doing some things for yourselves that you typically would send out to maybe have your shirts done, or whatever the issue is. It's cutting back and looking at those needs, and maybe it's eating out. And we have some wonderful restaurants, and we want to support them, but sometimes you have to look at that individual budget and make sure that you can live within your means. I've been saying that our state government needs to do that. Our federal government needs to do that, despite the fact that we're spending another $1 trillion right now. But we do need to live within our means, and if we develop that kind of culture, it will take a little while. It may be tough, but I think we can come out of this, and we can come out stronger than we are today.
And let me add a third thing. I talked about managing the debts, talking to your lenders, and cutting spending. A third one, I think, is to admit when you need help. I mean, realize when you need help. Lots of people are not good at putting a budget together and understanding their finances. It gets complex very quickly. So whether it's your credit union that is there to help you with a basic budget, there are resources online, the Consumer Credit Counseling Services, Green Path, organizations like that. And family members, be willing to say, I'm in over my head here. Can you help me out a little bit? I need a basic budget. I need some help getting more discipline back into my life. And I think that's something that people really need to have the courage to do.
Well, I think I would rather have someone come and say, I need help in getting my budget together, rather than coming back every 2 weeks saying, can you give me some money?
Exactly.
Because it shows that they're trying to do something, they're willing to make changes themselves, so they can put their expenses in line with what their income is. Something else you said I think is very important. I think many times when people are in trouble, they don't want to call the lending institution. I spoke with a bank president fairly recently, and she told me, she said, Senator, we don't want the property or the house or the whatever the item is for which someone's borrowed money. We don't
Right,
want that.
right.
But we get to a certain point and maybe we have to move, but that's the last thing we want to do. In fact, one institution said, we've been calling people. We're calling them, trying to get them to respond to us. Maybe they think we're trying to push them, trying to get a payment. We're trying to work out a situation where they can make the payments and make them in a way that's they can continue to make the payments, but we're not just trying to punish them or to push them. And so I think talking, facing the problem, and that's true in life. We all have problems. Sometimes we want to maybe run away and hide, but the best thing to do is to face them head on, take responsibility, change our ways where need to, maybe self-sacrifice a little bit more, and then move forward.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we've certainly covered a lot of territory. I think the one thing that's been pretty high in the news is just foreclosures, and I think
Sure.
you've covered a bit of that. Some have gone out and just bought way over their heads, or their income was at a certain level. Maybe they're working overtime and they thought, well, it's going to be this way forever. And not only are they not working overtime, but they don't have the job and they have to take a lower paying job. Those kinds of things can really hurt. But I think you've spoken to some of that.
Yeah, there's something
as
I'd
well.
like to say on the foreclosure challenge. I think people need to realize that the economic recession that we're in right now is led by a collapse of the housing market. And what that means is home prices have plummeted, and for a variety of reasons, foreclosures have increased. In Michigan, it's related to job losses. In other parts of the country, it's more related to the fact that people don't have equity in their homes and have negative equity and they walk away. But, you know, I think the banking industry kind of gets painted with a broad brush sometimes, that banks are bad and consumers are justified in walking away from their mortgages. There is certainly truth to the fact that some consumers need help modifying their mortgages. Maybe they were a subprime borrower that got a really high interest rate and that mortgage needs to be modified. But a huge portion of the mortgage loans that are out there right now were made to prime borrowers, or they were made at reasonable rates and reasonable terms. Mm-hmm. And we have to be careful from a policy standpoint that we don't make the problem worse by in fact encouraging people to file bankruptcy or condoning that it's okay to walk away from your debt obligation.
Dave, some people have watched the hearings and seen all the money given to banks, and they've heard about the individuals who've received millions of dollars in what I guess bonus money for essentially what I call running a business into the ground. I think that if we talk about good character, that's certainly not what we want to see. Credit unions are not in that, and many banks are not doing
Right.
that as well. I mean,
most business leaders, certainly credit unions and most banks don't operate like that. Those situations are a travesty, and there needs to be greater oversight, especially when government funds are being given to an organization.
Absolutely.
Those executives have to be held to the highest standards in terms of compensation and bonuses and perks.
Absolutely, and I agree with that, Dave. We've run out of time. Dave, I appreciate having you on. David Adams, President and CEO of Michigan Credit Union League, thank you for watching, and wishing you the best for your financial health as well as for the rest of your life. Thank you for watching. God bless you.